Pay attention, listen up. Most recently, I was going to my dental hygienist appointment. Like all you should do. If you don't, you should schedule it. Make sure you take care of your hygiene at all different levels. There's my little PSA for the moment. But you got to pay attention to what's going on in your life. So, hygienist started talking about homesteading, and she wanted to, live off the grid, all these things, and live in nature. And our food's really bad for us. And she wants to grow her own food and chickens. And that drove her husband to get a hunting license and start hunting. So she's like, I don't know. I brought it up. He wanted to start hunting and all this stuff. So she starts going on, a monologue about, that she is about wanting to eat healthier and, get better food, and factory farms are so bad. And she was definitely preaching. And like, I'm fine. Obviously, I was stuck in a chair, I was listening. It's always nice to be polite and kind. And everything, if you pay attention, you'll learn something, and you may be able to help people, or you might be able to learn something. I obviously know a lot about nutrition, factory farming, all that stuff. At the end of the day, I think most people, what happens is when they start learning about something and they want to make a change, they go so far to this other side that they don't want to just stick with the basics and just be like, hey, yes, factory farm is not great, but maybe just don't eat McDonald's. Let's start there. Baby steps, move in the right direction. Maybe don't go full on homesteading. Maybe just start maybe getting solar, doing small things that will improve your carbon footprint, all that stuff. But before I dive into that, let's get in. So we started diving into all these things, and she was discussing, her life and, her goals, and obviously factory farming. And she mentioned like sometimes she used to work for Costco, and Costco, you can always make people wait in line, but you should, all this stuff. And it brought me to a point where I was like, I just felt compelled to be like, well, we should always give people grace, right? And I kind of gave her a little bit of a hard time. I was like, sounds like you got a little passive aggressiveness going on when people aren't, doing what you think is right. And, you might believe it's right or wrong or whatever, but my thing is always, how do we look at ourselves and how do we make changes with ourselves? We can only control ourselves. And if we show that we're not we're getting a little high or kick or power trip because we can be a little passive aggressive people because we can control the checkout line per se, or we work in an environment where we can make it more difficult for them to place an order or do something. Well, what you need to do is look at yourself and how is that helping you. We did talk about kindness and grace and things, and she was very open to the comment, and she's like, you know what, I really probably should digest that and look at myself. And so super proud of that moment, when you can help somebody without really doing too much, just bringing something up and making them aware. Like, life leaves clues if you just listen and pay attention. It doesn't matter if it's in comments, if it doesn't matter in feedback you're given at work. If you don't like something about it's probably true, and that's why it's rubbing you the wrong way. So if you just open your eyes, open your ears, and listen and pay attention and think about, how can I improve me and what can I focus on that will make me better? Because we all are not perfect. We all struggle through all different things, right? We all hopefully look at, failing or making mistakes or not being perfect, or are starting to be aware of what we're doing. And that's a tough thing. If nobody makes you aware of what you're doing, that's not, necessarily best for you, then it's hard to make strides. And most of us, I think, don't want to know. They don't want us to become aware. You don't want to become aware because you're still fighting it. You're not ready for that change, right? And that's tough. Like, change can occur at the worst times. Life can force change upon you, right? Through divorce, through, something bad happening in your life and all that stuff. Sometimes we need something major in our life that's terrible before we listen. Hopefully I have learned that I'll listen sooner than making my life have to come up with major things to really hit me over the head to be like, Yeah, get this right. We're tired of telling you trying to teach you the same lesson over and over again. So be aware, pay attention, listen with all you can to understand, like, hey, I should probably work on this. How can I work on this? You can always get a coach, obviously, right? Links below, all that things. You can get a mentor. You can ask your friends. And this is a tough one. A lot of friends will not give honest feedback because they don't want to hurt your feelings. You can't blame them for that. It takes courage to be able to tell somebody, hey, you know what? You got something in between your teeth. You just got to pick it out. Like you're solid. I personally love to hear that feedback because I don't want to walk around with some giant piece of spinach in my teeth all night long. So I'm always the first one to point out to people, be like, hey, you got something in your teeth. Just FYI, just because I hope somebody does it to me. And then it's that subtlety of, obviously, do you have the relationship to be able to provide that feedback in the first place to somebody? You wouldn't just walk up to a stranger and just be like, hey, you're really passive aggressive. You shouldn't do that. Probably not the best, place or time or person to give feedback to. But if you have a relationship with that person, or you see it, something, or you can kind of, hint on it a little bit, if you feel like they're open, throw it out there and be like, oh, you got a little passive aggressiveness, I see going on for you. All right, you can be playful with it. Obviously, you have to feel it out depending on the person. If I didn't build rapport first, and what that wasn't in if I didn't feel that she was open, I probably would just, let her speak and just sit there and nod and, keep my mouth open so my teeth can get cleaned. But I would think I was aware enough to be able to provide that feedback where she may have listened, she might not have, and that's okay. It's not my job to make somebody change. And so that's what I think we have to learn if we're coaches or consultants or any of those things, that it's not always your job to make everybody change. Obviously, if somebody hires you, you have a financial incentive, they're paying you to try to elicit a change. But even then, if they're not ready to make the change and they're fighting with you all the time, it's not your job to keep them as a client. If you feel you can't do that, you need to let them go. Say, hey, I wish you the best. I don't feel I'm going to be the best fit for you to make this change happen. I might be able to suggest a few people, names and numbers, or something you can try. I'm not really sure if you're really ready for it. If it's just me, you can always put the, ownership on yourself and get them to try to move in that direction. You can't change everybody. And a lot of times we're giving feedback to people who don't want it. It's unsolicited. That is not a healthy way to provide feedback or criticism. If we're doing this to our family, our friends, it's considered really unloving. Criticism is not a great thing when it comes from just anybody and everybody, or if people aren't asking for it. I even find myself as a parent now, and my kids are a little older, that they don't really need feedback ever. They just need to, to be able to talk and share and go through it. And then when they're ready, they will come to me. They need to know that, hey, look, I'm going to be here. So that's a tough one. I have a hard time balancing being a parent and wanting to say something right away to correct it, and just bite my tongue and hold it in and just let them talk. Um, I'm still working on that one. And so I hope you guys can take this feedback well. I hope you just listen and keep your eyes wide open, ears open, senses on point, so you're aware about feedback you might be getting in life, and be like, hey, where does that show up in my life? Am I being a little passive aggressive? Am I doing this? Like, what's going on? The universe normally speaks to us. Pay attention, listen up. My time's up, and I wish you all the best and most success. Take care.